mindful and honor the time of everyone who's here at the session. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kurt Kressig, and I'm honored to serve Regent University as Dean of the School of Education. On behalf of all School of Education faculty and staff, we're delighted that you joined us this afternoon. And folks, we have a treat for you today. Today, we're listening to two experts, Dr. Deanna Nisbet and Jerilyn Friedsam. And a little bit about Dr. Nisbet. She's a professor and faculty chair of our TESOL program in the School of Education. She teaches graduate level courses in linguistics, TESOL methodology, and second language acquisition. Her educational credentials include an EDD and an MED, master's level certificate in TESOL, and a BS with initial teacher license in speech pathology and audiology. Dr. Nisbet has taught ESL and TESOL classes in a variety of settings since 1989. She developed and presently oversees the Regent TESOL program, as well as partnerships with Hampton Roads area school districts for the training of current and prospective ESL teachers. Now, also presenting with us is Jerilyn Friedsam. She's a veteran teacher of English language learners and current student in our Masters of TESOL program. She's taught English language learners in a variety of settings in the US and Korea, and most recently, she's been teaching ESOL at the elementary level in Northern Virginia for the past 7 years. Her previous experience includes teaching American Sign Language and special education at the secondary level. And she's a native of Virginia Beach. So, Dr. Nisbet and Ms. Friedman, we welcome you here today. And I will turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are very excited to be here today, and we are going to explore some of Jerry's experiences in making the transition to remote learning in her role as an ESOL teacher working with first, third, and fifth graders. And while there are many aspects that we could focus on, we have chosen to narrow our topic down to two areas: how to connect with students and parents, and then how to engage learners in using and practicing English in speaking, listening, reading, and writing. So let's begin by asking Jerry, what was the first thing you did, Jerry, to begin reaching out to parents and students? Found out we're transitioning to a new model of remote learning.
Yeah, it was a shock overnight, wasn't it? Fortunately for our school, our registrar has a master list of all the parents and the students' names in our school. So included on that list is the parents' preferred correspondence language. So, for the ESOL families. So the majority of the families chose English, or they choose English to receive messages at home, but sometimes we have other languages requested as well.
Well, what are some of the preferred correspondence languages that are prevalent at your school?
At our school, the #1 language is Korean, and after that would be Spanish, Arabic, several Indian languages, and Chinese.
Wow, and your school has a fantastic job of sending out general communication to parents and making available on your website a lot of the COVID-19 information already translated for them.
Yes.
That's really a wonderful asset. Now, what has worked well for you personally in reaching out to parents and students?
First and foremost, probably emails that I've extracted from the master list. I've emailed the parents. I've researched a little on translation apps and websites to translate for the families who have requested a different language, and that seems to have worked well. I've also made some phone calls. I've heard from some parents using, or some teachers using Class Dojo, and that also has a translation element to it. And we have office hours online for our students to reach out to us.
Great. And so you've had a couple of really good experiences with connecting one family from Korea where the mom was able to get online. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yes. That was early on. probably the first parent and student I saw online, and she was Korean. And since I had lived there for 2 years, I know the proper greeting is a slight bow and 안녕하세요. And I think that really helped connect this mother who was a little unsure of her English, and me being a little unsure of my Korean. We kind of met in the middle, and it was a good icebreaker.
Yeah, and over technology, nonetheless.
And over technology, yeah, we were both learning, but it really worked out.
Excellent. Well, a great idea that you had while you were on site at your school, and your students were with you there. You had something called Lunch Bunch. So you were able to take that idea of Lunch Bunch and reframe it just a little bit and offer it to some students in a remote learning environment. Tell us about that and how that's worked.
Okay, first of all, Lunch Bunch is a highly coveted time with a teacher when you prearrange a date when you can join the teacher for lunch. Usually about 4 to 6 students come to my office and we eat together. We'll play games, we'll do Mad Libs, just talk, and the kids kind of wrestle each other to have the opportunity to do that. So I have found it has worked well online as well. I can reach out to the families, or they can reach out to me if I give a particular day when I'm offering a lunch bunch, and maybe up to 5 or 6 students can join, so that we can still do some of the fun activities that they really enjoyed.
And you mentioned Mad Libs as the things, the activities that you do. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I don't know how many of you remember doing Mad Libs. It's a fun way to interject some grammar. The kids have to remember what's a noun, a verb, an adjective, and they make up these silly stories. And I've even had success just over the phone with one student. We did 2 stories. He kept asking for more. So I think that really lightened his mood, got his mind off of this virus, and we both had a lot of fun with that.
That is great. So how is your district actually delivering instruction and lessons to students during this time? And then how specifically are you doing that at your school?
Our district, our county is at the elementary level, is mailing packets home to each child for reading and math each week. So, and there's also a paperless option. Parents can choose to just download it if they don't want the paper option. So with that in mind, like myself, the ESOL teachers can use that packet to cater their learning, the students' learning, or we also have the classroom teachers offering online live sessions with their students, and asynchronous or pre-recorded lessons that the students can click on anytime.
Yeah, it's so important, isn't it, to realize that some of our parents have the technology access and can share that with their students. Some households, there might be one computer or one device that folks are sharing. So you've got to have both that high tech and low tech option. And it sounds like your district and you are really well covered with that. Now, you, I understand, also made a list of resources with that you share with parents, and we are going to take a look at just a couple of these. So can everybody see, can you all see on the screen what looks like an activity board? Is that up there?
I can see it.
Okay, yes. Great. So awesome. Thank you. So tell us about this resource, Jerry, this ESOL activity board.
This was like a heaven sent when I saw this. It's catered specifically for ESOL students. It's broken down by grade level. As you can see at the top, it says home 3 to 5, so grades 3 to 5, and it's broken down by the week. So you present this to the students, and each day they just have one activity to do, and they all either cater to listening, speaking, reading, or writing in English. But the best thing is that this is offered in about 31 languages as well, translation languages, that we can share with the parents, so that if they're not real comfortable with English, they could read it in their home language. to explain to their children. And you can see now on the screen, it's the Korean version.
Yeah, and many of these activities to us sound very fun, and I think if parents can get involved in this low-tech way and have that native language access if they need it, they are often very eager, aren't they, to help their students learn and to really feel a part of this. This is just a fantastic resource. And here is the slide that you can see, the general website where these are found. Tell us a little bit more of the details there, Jerry.
That you go to this website, and on the right-hand side, you can choose which home language. You would send home to the students the English version, but also offer one of the 31 languages, and it's broken down by the week, and so they're up to 12 weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
So there's plenty of material.
12 weeks of free resources available for teachers, and again, it can be used in a high-tech way where parents can download it off of their computer or device, or they can be mailed out, distributed. I know in some districts they're even distributing activities like this at the lunch distribution site. So when parents come up to pick up lunch, they can also get some of this type of information distributed to them as well. So let's take a look at another site that you recommend, Unite for Literacy, and tell us a little bit about that. What can teachers do with Unite for Literacy?
Okay, first a little housekeeping. On the left-hand side of your screen, if this is not big enough, there's a looks like a paper with a magnifying glass. Click there and you can enlarge this on your screen to see. So at the top in the dark blue row, you'll see on the far left with the pencil icon, that means it's written in English. So all of these books are written in English, but next to it, there's a button to click that will drop down over 40 languages that the books can be read or narrated in. So this one, for example, says Turkish. So you can click on any of these books, and then underneath the book, when it opens, you'll have the option to listen in English or listen in your home language, which is really excellent. They're all short nonfiction books, very colorful and very user-friendly. And I worked with a little first grader who really enjoyed it. She kept asking for another book. So we both enjoyed that.
Yeah, and we know how important it is from the literature, from best practices. A key thing to do in supporting ESOL learners right now is to get them engaged in listening, speaking, reading, and writing in English as much as possible, ideally every day. So through the choice boards and a site like this, if we can get students excited about learning, we're doing well with getting them on the road to getting that built-in practice. So how about this next site, ABC? Tell us about that.
Okay, there are so many websites. We just narrowed it down to a few. I particularly like this one because it, as you can see, it's broken down to multiple elementary grade levels, or every elementary grade level. So as parents and teachers, up at the top, see in the aqua color, there's a link for parents and teachers. You can break it down according to reading or math, activities or games, and also it's aligned with the standards of learning. So if you're doing a unit on poetry, for example, 3rd grade, you would click on the parents and teachers, go to 3rd grade and literature, and then you'll even see 3.3, for example, which standard of learning it's practicing. And then the kids get to have fun with it. They're very engaging and child-friendly, and they get to play a game that relates to an actual learning standard.
It's fantastic. I love it, the idea that you're bringing out about capitalizing on what students are familiar with. Yeah. If a teacher has used a resource in the classroom already, it really goes a long way for students because they already know and easily at home as well. And so my last question for you right now is, what are some of your top takeaways or ahas as you've walked through this transition so far to the remote learning environment, what are some of those takeaways or ahas that you would like to share?
Most importantly, just to avoid getting overwhelmed, stick with what's familiar to you and your students. At least start there so that you're not learning everything new, the students aren't learning everything new. So start with the familiar things and then add in slowly maybe one more thing a week or every 2 weeks as you are aware of them. Like, for example, the ESL at home, that's a new thing to me, and I gladly took it on my repertoire because I think it'll be very helpful for our parents. But yeah, it's easy to get overwhelmed. So just take one thing at a time and one day at a time.
Absolutely. And so, Jerry, I think too, one aspect that you've highlighted in our many conversations is the collaboration that you've had with your colleagues. So what about that? How has that helped you?
Absolutely. Since I work with 3 different grade levels as well as kindergarten sometimes, you might have different curriculums and lessons going on. So it's very important to collaborate so that you can try to match what each grade level is doing or the teachers are doing. So the student can try to keep up with their English speaking peers.
Yeah, wonderful. So if you are an ESL teacher or who works with English learners in some way, we want to challenge you. We hope that you've enjoyed hearing some of Jerry's experiences transitioning to the remote environment, but we want to challenge you with some things. So if you can think back maybe 2-3 months ago, what were some of the best things that you were doing to connect with students and to engage them in speaking, listening, reading, and writing? How are you supporting students? And then what can you do to take that, tweak it just a little bit, and offer it in the remote learning environment? And I encourage you to maybe take a few minutes after the webinar is over, jot down a few ideas of what you were doing that was working well and what you might be able to do to add that one little piece to your repertoire and what you're currently doing in the remote learning environment.
Exactly.
Awesome. So we can move now to questions.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Nisbet. As she said, we're going to open up for a time of question and answer. And if you'll look near the bottom of your screen, those of you that are participants, there is a little person that has their hand raised, and I'm going to click it so you can see. If you feel free to click on that button, and then I will be able to click on another button to be able to get you to either ask your question via the chat feature or through microphone only.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So I do have a question for you, Dr. Nisbet. This is Kurt. You know, with transitioning to online for all of our educators right now, especially with English language learners, losing contact with them, you know, it's easy to happen now that we don't have them in our schools anymore. Any suggestions about how teachers can reconnect? Because a lot of times if they call home, you know, mom and dad may not speak English. The child may not be available. What are some strategies that teachers can do to connect with the home if there's been a loss of connection right now, which I'm sure, you know, when you look at an average classroom, we're losing probably about 20% of the students right now where we just aren't able to connect with students. Any suggestions for that?
Well, I think reaching them where they are going. So for example, if they are picking up lunches, maybe just distributing notes or packets of information, just encouraging things to them where they are coming and engaging, letting them know that you are still there for them. And also being persistent to try multiple different types of technology and use the ones that they will respond to and that have been effective. So for example, if they were using Class Dojo, or if they were using just accessing the school website for general information, trying to find out as much as you can about your learners. I know that one group of ESOL teachers was just reaching out to individual parents by phone and saying, hey, what are your technology preferences? What technology do you have available? So I think you've just got to be resourceful and persistent and try some things out and find what works for each parent. As we're talking about, you've got to really go through the parents in most cases to reach those students.
And Dr. Also, in our school district, we're fortunate to have some parent liaisons for the top language groups in our school. So we have a Korean parent liaison and a Spanish parent liaison. So as teachers, we can reach out to them, and they do translation and explanations for us. So that we're very fortunate to have that as well.
Yes, wonderful. So, other questions?
It's a quiet.
So one aspect for communicating information with parents that we haven't talked about, in Jerry's district, there is a lot of information shared in multiple different languages. But sometimes in your district, maybe you don't have access, you don't have the translation available. The website Colorado is a fantastic site, and it's spelled like coloring without the G, Coloring Colorado, and they have resources for parents on COVID-19 translated into many different languages represented on that site. So that can be a great site. Also, a news site for children that is fantastic is Newsella, News-ELA. And Jerry, I know that you are familiar with that. You and that. Could you make a few comments on the site?
That site has a child-friendly news broadcast, kind of led by a child anchor, if you will, and they interview people doing different jobs or what have you, and it's kind of engaging for the children to watch, and then it's good for practicing listening in English, and then we encourage our students to talk about it with a parent or a sibling or someone else who could speak English with them or listen to them speak in English. So that's a good way to get the listening and the speaking going.
Wonderful, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
I'm curious where some other of us are from or where they teach.
Yes, please share.
Well, at this time, go ahead, Deanna.
No, please go ahead. I was just going to say that Rachel has posted the Coloring Colorado link in the area. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, folks, if there's really no more questions, you can feel free to reach out to either Jerilyn or Dr. Nisbet at any time. You can go to our Regent website. And Rachel, can we give their contact information, just their emails, in the chat box? That way people can have that at their ready should a question come up down the road. But I want to thank our two presenters, Dr. Nisbet and Jerilyn Friedsam, for their expertise and their time today to share with all of our teachers, our friends, our constituencies. So we appreciate the time that you spent today, and we appreciate those that joined us. It makes a difference, and we're all part of a learning community. So I appreciate it. Any last words?
Thank you.
No, thank you all so much for being here. And if you have any courses that are your favorites, you can also feel free to type those in the chat area to share with anybody else who is still
Rachel had her hand up.
Yeah, Dr. Nisbet, give me 1 second. It looks like Rachel has
Okay, super.
Gretchen's smiling.
Okay, Rachel, go ahead. You're welcome to type your comment, or you can click on your microphone button and we'll be able to hear you ask your question.
Okay, I just wanted to say thank you, and if you could put up the color in Colorado, what was that link?
Absolutely. Can you see in the chat area? Rachel has typed it. And you could probably copy and paste that right into your web browser to find that. Are you able to do that?
I'm still looking, but I will find it. Thank you.
Okay, sure. So,
Dr. Nisbet.
yes.
Would you like to put up the slide that has the other links for some of the resources we mentioned, or no?
Sure. These the links for the 3 that we mentioned are here.
Yeah, there you go.
The 3 that we mentioned, ESL at Home, Unite for Literacy, and ABCA are on your screen as well. Thank you.
Sure. Well, it's been really fun.
Well, Jerry, thank you. You have been terrific. We are so grateful to have you and to hear your perspective today. And we wish you all the best in your many efforts to reach out to your students and to collaborate with your teachers and get involved with those parents. And kudos to you on all that you're doing to really serve your students and their families. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for being here with us today. It really has been a wonderful pleasure.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right, take care, everyone, and God bless.
Bye-bye.